Joining us now for more is Dr. Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the United States and former deputy minister and Israeli parliament member, joining us from Tel Aviv. And Michael, certainly there are ambassadors who don't have diplomatic experience before they come in the job that could have a real impact in that position. And certainly Ambassador Friedman, even though controversial figure in some quarters, there's no denying the influence he had during his tenure here.
Immense, Calev. I can't remember an American ambassador, maybe going back to McDonald in the early 1950s, who's had that type of influence. Most of it is just a product of, first of all, David Friedman's personality, but also his intense loyalty as president. They used to say that Jason Greenblatt, the special emissaries for peace from the White House, used to work for Donald Trump. But they also say that Donald Trump used to work for David Friedman, who was his bankruptcy lawyer. And I can almost not imagine another situation where an American ambassador has been that close to the president of the United States.
Right. How much do you think, as you imply there, Ambassador Friedman was certainly carrying out the will of President Trump? Moving the embassy to Jerusalem was something that the president had promised. But even on some of those other issues, for example, recognizing the legality of Israeli settlements, how much do you think of a force Ambassador Friedman was in those decisions?
I think he was central in those positions. And I know of one position in which I had extensive interaction with Ambassador Friedman. That was over the question of American recognition of Israeli sovereignty of the Golan Heights. The initial position of the administration was against it. The first time I raised it at the White House, I was told that, hey, we're already recognizing Jerusalem as your capital. Don't stretch it. We're trying to get the Palestinians on board. We're trying to get the Arabs on board with the deal of the century. Don't push your luck here. But David Friedman pushed it. And David Friedman got it done. And to this day, official American policy, and I hope it remains American policy, is that the Golan Heights is an inseparable part of the state of Israel under Israeli sovereignty.
Right. Now, Michael, in his tweet today, one has to notice that not only did he announce he's retiring, but Ambassador Friedman announced he was opening a Twitter account in his own name. He made clear in that interview with the New York Times that he hopes to continue to influence or maybe express himself on the discussion. How much of a role do you see him going forward in some of these, in the relationship between Israel and the United States?
Well, Ambassador Friedman, he's a personal friend. I've known him since our college days together. He was a sort of a wunderkind, a boy wonder. He started college when he was 15 years old, so I'm a little bit older. He will always be welcome. His voice will always be important. He is an unstinting, unflagging friend and defender of the state of Israel. Talk about him being the ambassador of the Republican Party in this country. And I would just caution, bipartisan support for the state of Israel is a strategic national interest for this country. There's going to be one ambassador. That ambassador will be appointed by President Biden. And it's important that we all internalize here that there's one ambassador from the United States. There's one democratically elected American government, and Joseph Biden is the president of that government.
Let me just ask you very quickly, briefly, do you think we'll see a consul general in Jerusalem that will deal with the Palestinians the way we saw in past administrations?
Yeah, I was a long-time opponent of that consulate. I used to, as ambassador, I would go to a number of American Jewish organizations and urge them to go on the website of that consulate. The website was in English and in Arabic. Reading that website, you wouldn't know that there was a single Jew in the city of Jerusalem, much less the fact that Jerusalem was the capital of the state of Israel. And so I was delighted when they finished to bring that consulate under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Embassy, then in Tel Aviv, later in Jerusalem. I would not be surprised if that decision were not reversed under this coming administration. And it will be, from my perspective, a sad day, and not something that will contribute to the peace process, not contribute to the U.S.-Israel relationship. Right. And ultimately, I don't think it's going to serve America's own long-term interests in the Middle East. All
right. Dr. Michael Oren, we're going to go out for a brief break. Please stay with us. We'll come back, talk a little more